Right.
So use mine away. Do you want me to move that away?
No.
Okay.
What is your name?
My name is Ron Feingold. I'm a professional stand-up comedian and producer and creator of open bar comedy.
Awesome. What is your age?
That's classified.
Fair. Where are you originally from?
That's classified as well. No, I'm an Air Force brat. So I was born in a little town where John Mellencamp at Indiana University in between semesters for my dad in Bloomington, Indiana.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, no memory of it whatsoever. I moved away when I was 6 years old. I'm an Air Force brat. We moved to Virginia, Alabama,
Wow.
Colorado, and I spent most of my time. Should I do that again?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I was trying to get behind you.
Mom! So,
yeah, continue. Sorry.
do you want me to start that whole thing again, or see? I spent most of my time growing up in Montgomery, Alabama, and that was from 6 to 12 years old, and then from 12 years old to my adulthood, I spent my time in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Where do you live now?
I live in the Orlando area, Orlando, Florida.
And you chose Resilient Reels as your spotlight title. Can you tell me why that was?
Yeah, so I'm a prostate survivor as well as a prostate cancer patient right now. So I had my diagnosis in May of 2024, and it came back in May of 2025. I found out that it's like, so I've been living with prostate cancer for a year now, and it somewhat knocked me down. But I chose resilience because most of my life and my career has been about overcoming obstacles. You know, whether it was I started when I was 19 years old as a comedian. So I was either too young when I started. I was either too Jewish, which I talked very rarely about being Jewish on stage, or then I became either too old and now sometimes even discriminated against because I've told people that I have cancer and they think I'm dying.
It's always something.
So yeah, it is always something. So, but the other thing that I have is I do, so it's not only those things that were obstacles in my career, but what I chose to do as a career is an obstacle because life as a stand-up comedian is not easy, and becoming a stand-up comedian is not easy, and the entire lifestyle of it, and even just to get work as a comedian is a difficult thing. And I chose music to do in my show. I combined stand-up comedy and a cappella music together in my show. So to do something that's out of the ordinary, that you have to explain to people a little bit more than usual, that I'm not your usual kind of typical stand-up comedian. I combine this music stuff as well, and I do it in a very unique way. That's another obstacle. So I've had to grow a thick skin and tell people in the beginning what I needed to change about my act, or even told to change my last name, or to change the way I am on stage, or the things that I talk about, or just to give up altogether. And that was my parents growing up, is, don't get a college degree, which I did. I got a master's degree, which I did, things to fall back on. But I've come through experience that I was always falling back on stand-up comedy in my experience, as opposed to really anything else.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, but you have to be resilient in this business, and you have to be resilient to be a comedian, and as well as doing all of the things that I've chosen to do, as well as have cancer at the same time.
Yes, awesome. Can you please share your journey to embrace the new you?
When I got prostate cancer, at first I kind of went through those stages of, denial and grief, and then acceptance. And but the thing that I found is that life is the art of distraction, and the only way that I could really distract myself the most from thinking about, oh God, I have cancer all the time, is to help other people. So I started this. I I wouldn't call it an organization. It was just kind of a movement in a way. I haven't really turned it into like a nonprofit or anything, which I probably will someday once I get some other roots established.
Yeah.
But it's called Just a Prick.
Oh.
And what it is trying to get men to get more PSA tests for prostate. PSA is prostate specific antigen. And it's a simple blood test. And a lot of men think that you have to get a rectal exam.
Yeah.
Rectal exam
You did not.
to figure out if you have prostate cancer or not, and that's just not the case. It's a blood test, a simple blood test,
Okay.
at least to get the indicators that you might have to look into it further, maybe a biopsy, an MRI, but the first indicator is always that PSI. You don't need to get a rectal exam.
Yeah.
So the Just a Prick movement was to try to get men to come to a comedy show, pay for a ticket, and we'll give you a free PSA test right there at the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you'll get the results and everything. And it's also not only to spread the word of men getting a PSA at 40 or above, maybe even I have some friends even 35 and above get a PSA test. So that is my message, and that's what I tried to kind of renew myself with, was to help other men figure out that you need to get a PSA test every year, and some every 6 months.
That's really great, honestly. What was your biggest obstacle or hurdle to overcome in your journey to embrace the new you?
I think, to be honest, 100% transparent, my biggest obstacle is, how do I say it without seeming like a moron? Changing my attitude. My biggest obstacle was changing my mind about how I approach things, because I historically have had a really horrible attitude about a lot of things when it comes to just being a pessimistic person, I think sometimes, because I've had to fight for everything, and I've had to be persistent through everything, and I had to be consistent with everything. And to go through those fights, I've kind of had that thick skin that I've talked about, and just had to endure a lot of those things. So, it kind of made me somewhat of a pessimistic person, because I'm that naturally kind of guy that when things are going all great, I'm just waiting for something to break. And just because it always has, historically has. I was like, for instance, I was thinking maybe 2 weeks ago, everything's going wonderful, everything's great, wonderful. Nothing's broken yet. And then my son just tore his ACL. So that's life. Things happen. But trying to change my attitude about being more positive has always been a hurdle, and something that I'm always working on.
Right. Very great. How do you stay positive?
How do I stay positive? I haven't been. I'll be honest with you. I haven't been. It's something that I'm working on being more of. But I put it this way: I've worked extremely hard, and this might sound like a really bitter statement, but seen a lot of people that have worked less hard get rewarded so much more. And it's either because of who you know, which is usually a life rule of most things. But it's a frustrating thing to live through over and over and over again, to see it, to be in a position where you might not know all these people of a position to get you where you want to go, or have other people of influence help you out. But to feel just as talented as some other people that have gotten rewarded in ways that you've dreamed of is frustrating.
Yeah.
So that's why it's been hard to stay positive. But I've learned over the past couple of years, especially since I got sick with cancer, that wealth to me isn't measured anymore with zeros and numbers. It's measured by love and respect. Do your friends, family love you, and do you have that universally out in the world? Yeah. And I think I've worked really hard on that to make sure that that was the case with me, that not only my reputation is intact as being a kind person that wants to help other people, but that I can be consistent with that. And, that's also a distraction for me, is to kind of help other people more so I can feel better about myself.
That is nice. Thank you. What advice can you give to others who are also facing their own challenges?
Learn from the mistakes of others. I think if you're the baby of a family, you're always learning from the older sibling. Are you the baby of the family?
I was. Now I have a 10-year-old sister, but I was the baby growing up. So.
Okay. So, you know, the older one makes the mistakes
He
and you
gets
learn
in
from
trouble
that.
and
Right.
I get to just.
And that's what I learned from. And that kind of set a precedent with me. But I have tried, I've made my own mistakes and I've learned from my mistakes, but I've also learned from other people's mistakes. And I don't want, I think repeating history makes you look dumb.
Yeah.
So I try not to repeat history by learning from other people's mistakes and learning from history, knowing history, and not repeating it if it's negative.
That's a good answer. Which ET in your design best resonates with you and why?
All right. Well, can I hold it up? This one on the shirt. That is the phoenix, you know, and for a lot of people that represents, you know, rebirth and renewal, or coming, you know, I guess fire and fleas.
Yeah, please. Exactly.
But fire represents life and as well as renewal. I mean, if you look at, you know, if your house burns down, most of the time something else is going to replace it. And a lot of the times it's not only new, but better. Mm-hmm. So after a forest fire, a lot of trees and, you know, everything comes back sometimes even stronger than it was before. So fire can seem like, you know, something negative, but it seems like something positive comes at it in the end. So, and that's where renewal comes in for me, I guess.
Really, really nice. How has the mantra "Embrace the New You" inspired you?
Well, it just inspired me because I just met you guys and I wasn't aware of all this, but it's cool that you know, you guys are bringing forward stories of people that have gone through some kind of transformation or some kind of life experience that has been the catalyst to change something else, you know, like I think everybody goes through that. That's the life cycle. It just depends on when you decide to do something about it, you know. Yes. Like, for example, my wife embraced the new her when COVID came around. Mm-hmm. She was very comfortable just being a server in a restaurant and working nights and, you know, not really having to think too much about career or anything like that. And then COVID struck and she was out of a job, and it made her realize that she wanted something more and to get rewarded better for her efforts. So she became a real estate agent. That's awesome. I think the personality that she has was conducive to that, but also the training that she had from being a server for so many years led her to want to help people in that way. And that was a transformation for her that was fun to watch. Yeah. So a lot of it was COVID. I mean, the funny story for me with the transformation, I mean, it was more of an evolution than a transformation. The evolution was going from stand-up comedian to announcing in January of 2020 that I was going to stop touring and become an airline pilot. Oh, wow. I had my license as a kid. I got my private pilot's license when I was a kid, and I was working on my ratings to get my instrument and my commercial to become an airline pilot. And I made the announcement to everybody that I was going to stop touring. And then March of 2020 came around and put an end to that right away with COVID. And so I started flying this other airplane that I was going to give people tours on. I live on a chain of lakes, so I wanted to take people on this tour and everything. And then I almost had an accident with this airplane. Yeah. And so I had to knock that out. And it made me think of open bar comedy, and it sparked an idea that not only was there a niche for it, and I got a lot of people to believe in it. And now we almost have 1 million followers on Facebook.
That is awesome.
Yeah, we're about a month away from that at the time of this taping. So thank you. That's so that was more of an evolution of things going wrong, and the world happening and me having to make an adjustment. I kind of like, in a football terms, calling an audible, changing the play. And you have to do that sometimes. You have to adjust. If you don't adjust, if you don't learn, you get left behind. And that's a big lesson for me too. If you're complacent and leave well enough alone, sooner or later you're going to be surpassed. Yeah. So that's my advice.
I agree. And when life felt at its heaviest, how did you find a way to still make people laugh, and what did laughter do for you?
I think distracting everybody, including myself, with the Just a Prick foundation that I started was the biggest thing that helped me get through the heaviest times. Because I was, really upset about what happened to me. I was really, I had horrible depression, and especially for the year that followed, there was a lot of adjustment that had to be made, not only with my life, but with my marriage. And so my wife got me through that cancer treatment and nursed me through some things. And there was some really horrific stuff that she saw that, and she's still here. So she got me through a lot of those hardest times. I would attribute that mostly to her. But my children were there. It really brought the family together as well during this time. I think, they kind of saw my value as a father even more. I think they didn't take it for granted, but they saw it even more because it kind of made them contemplate what it would be like if I was gone. So.
And lastly, just a fun fact about yourself.
A fun fact about myself.
Anything.
Let's see. What's a fun fact about myself? I've never been really asked that before. I wanted to be a professional football player when I was a kid. I had my parents crushed it like a horrible grape. I wanted to be an NFL football player. I loved the NFL. I had a big poster of O.J. Simpson up on my wall when I was a kid. You know who O.J. Simpson is? You look kind of young. You weren't around when that happened. But he was a football hero, and then he turned into all this other stuff. And then, but I wanted to play football. I had Tony Dorsett, Dallas Cowboys, Denver Broncos. I just wanted to be a football player. And my parents never really facilitated my dreams just because I was very skinny. I was 115 pounds, 120 pounds throughout high school. So not many football players are that big, but I played football all throughout my junior high and high school years. And I really wanted to do it. It was a dream that never came true, a dream that never happened, but everything was for a reason. I ended up marrying another fun fact about me is my wife is a former Minnesota Vikings cheerleader.
Oh my gosh, that's
so
cool.
Not only was I was not in the NFL, I got one of their cheerleaders.
There you go. That's even better.
Yeah. So hopefully that's a fun fact.
Yes, I liked it. So thank you. On behalf of Embrace the New You, thank you for sharing your journey with us and letting me interview you and supporting the ETNU movement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.